MK Ultra. On April 13, 1953, the CIA, using hypnotism, psychotropic drugs, electroshock, and physical torture, was discovering methods to control the human mind and brainwash. The organization, in hospitals and prisons, without the knowledge of individuals, injected them with psychotropics and then placed them in dark and closed rooms and interrogated them with hypnotism and wrote down their words. Gladys, a 32-year-old nurse, after these experiments, forgot how to talk, eat, and go to the bathroom. Frank Olson, a CIA scientist, after unwanted consumption of psychotropics, fell from a hotel window and was killed. The CIA paid $50,000 to Olson's family, but did not take responsibility for any of these incidents. And in 1975, in the U.S. Congress session at Church, the project information was revealed. Operation Sea Spray. On September 20, 1950, the U.S. Army, to examine the vulnerability of San Francisco City's air against bacteria, without informing the people, sprayed red bacteria. The sprayed bacteria had completely spread in the air of 43 areas of the city, and 800,000 people inhaled it, and 11 people contracted urinary infections and were hospitalized. Edward J. Nevin, a 75-year-old elderly man, lost his life due to severe infection. The U.S. Army did not accept any responsibility and kept the documents of this operation secret until 20 years later. Tuskegee Syphilis Study. On July 6, 1932, the United States Public Health Service, to study syphilis in black men without therapeutic intervention, started a project in the Tuskegee area. The project participants were 600 poor black men, of whom 400 were infected with the disease and 200 were healthy. They were promised medical care and free food and burial expenses, and were told they had bad blood and treatment was withheld from them. The victims thought they were under treatment, but they were deceived and suffered from dementia, paralysis, and blindness, and premature death, and doctors observed the course of the disease on them and compared the difference in disease progression of the infected with healthy individuals. After 40 years, an employee of this organization, Peter Buxton, leaked the confidential documents of this project in the newspaper, and in 1997, the president apologized to the families of the victims. Project Sunshine. On July 23, 1953, the United States Atomic Energy Commission, to understand the effect of radioactive rays on the human body, needed bone tissues and human bodies. The bones of growing children have the most radioactive absorption. Therefore, the U.S. government and Air Force, without informing the families of the deceased, collected 600 bodies of infants and children from around the world for testing. This project was confidential for 3 years, and after the project was revealed, the families of the deceased sued the government. Operation Northwoods. On March 13, 1962, the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff, to create a pretext for attacking Cuba and overthrowing Fidel Castro, detonated bombs in Miami and Washington, shot down passenger planes and sank boats, and blamed all these tragedies on the Cubans. The plan to attack Cuba reached the Secretary of Defense and was sent to the President's office for final approval. But the President opposed the plan and rejected it, and fired the general from the position of Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the plan to attack Cuba was never executed. 35 years later, the documents related to this operation were declassified. Guatemala STD Experiment. On August 9, 1946, the U.S. government in Guatemala infected 5,500 prisoners, soldiers, and orphan children without their consent with sexually transmitted diseases to examine the effects of new drugs. In prison cells, agents brought in prostitute women who were infected with gonorrhea and chancroid to have sexual intercourse with prisoners and transmit the disease. In military barracks, they created wounds on soldiers' bodies and injected bacteria into the wounds. In orphanages, they placed infected secretions on boys' genitals and rubbed bacteria into girls' eyes. 1,300 people were infected and 700 people were treated. This story remained hidden until 2010, when an American doctor discovered it. After the revelation, the U.S. government officially apologized. Project Artichoke. On August 20, 1951, the CIA, to examine the possibility of forcing individuals into forced confession and cooperation in assassination without their consent, gave illiterate people and immigrants morphine, heroin, LSD, and their combination. While the person was semi-conscious, agents interrogated the victims and forced him to confess to something he had not done or commit suicide with a knife. They kept people awake so the brain would lose its resistance and the drugs would take effect faster. The subjects would become delirious, and the agents continued torture and interrogation. After 2 years, this project became more brutal and intense and turned into MK Ultra. Operation Midnight Climax. On January 7, 1955, the CIA secretly operated brothels to conduct psychotropic experiments on unsuspecting individuals. In these brothels, prostitutes who were CIA members lured men inside and gave them drinkings containing LSD. In the rooms of these houses, one-way mirrors were installed, and agents behind them recorded the effect of narcotics on truthfulness, suggestibility, and sexual behavior of individuals. With the change of CIA director in 1963, this project was stopped, and 10 years later, in a committee led by Senator Frank Church, the project information was revealed. The Poison Squad. On December 5, 1902, the United States Department of Agriculture, to prove dangerous chemicals and preservatives in food, gave a 12-person volunteer group for food testing in exchange for free food and $5 a month on the condition that they could not abandon the project halfway. The group members suffered from nausea, headache, stomachache, poisoning, but could not abandon the project halfway and still sat at the dining table and ate food. The director of this project became the commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, and the members of the Poison Squad became unsung heroes of public health. Unit 731. On December 27, 1935, Unit 731, to research human physiology in harsh conditions and develop biological weapons and war weapons, tested prisoners of war and civilians without consent and protection. Military doctors without anesthesia to observe organs in their natural state performed live vivisection on people, and to study frostbite, froze the victim's hands and feet, then crushed them with a hammer. They injected the desired subjects with plague, cholera, syphilis, and typhus, and grenades, flamethrowers, and toxic gases were tested on their bodies. They infected pregnant women to examine the effect of disease on the fetus. Unit 731 was pardoned by giving project information to America.